How many of you have tried antenna modeling with any of the programs? With tried antenna modeling with any of the programs? Excuse me. Okay. If I tried my name is Mike Hembrey, call sign KV0OOM. The call sign is also on my license plate. It took me a while to get something that worked both with the FCC and with my licensing bureau. Unfortunately, in Florida, 0 is not on the license plate. And that's one of the few states I think that doesn't, but I believe it's because a 0 and an 8 look the same. And the cops can't tell the difference when they look at your license plate. So I end up with KV0OOM on my license plate. But if anybody that sees it says amateur radio on the bottom, you know that third character is a 0. I got my tech license. I'm one of the newbies in the amateur radio game, although I've been in electronics as an instructor and service engineer all my life. November of 2014, I took the novice test and passed it. They said, "Do you want to take the general?" I said, "No, I didn't study for it. Did not study for it." Then they said, "Okay, well, you can take it for free. You might as well try." I took that and I passed it as well. So I got both of them. Fortunately, my electronics background helped a lot. A few months later, I went over and come over in Tampa and took the test for the extra. I said, "Okay, I'm going to take the test." I did some studying for the extra, and I'm going to see how I do. And then I know what to study. Well, I passed that one too. So I think I just barely passed it, but I did pass it. So I went from nothing to extra class license in about 3 months. And my electronics education, and I also was an instructor, that really paid off. So knowing electronics is important to ham radio. Don't let them give that part up. Don't let them dumb down amateur radio. I'm also an ARRL WCF technical specialist. That means Daryl puts up with me. Computer programmer, and I'm hobby poor. I have a whole list of hobbies, but include astronomy, amateur radio, working with a desktop laser and desktop CNC machines. Too many hobbies and not enough money to support them. And being retired, that means I'm on a fixed income, so that makes it even worse. I can't work overtime to get more toys. My past modeling experience, easy net, big fail on that one. I just didn't understand it, and I'll explain why a little bit later. But easy net, 4-neck 2. I made a long wire dipole. In my backyard, I have about an 80-foot span, and I needed about 160 or 140 feet or something. So I made it U-shaped. Went across the back, one side went to a pole I put up between my house and the next door neighbor's house, and the other side dropped down and ran along the neighbor's plastic fence. So that was my example. It worked fairly well for a long wire, but that was the only thing I was able to actually model with any of the software. Neck to Go, I bought that one at some ham at the Orlando Hamcation. And Neck to Go was parametric, where you use formulas and stuff, and I really did not comprehend that. So I spent the money and supported the ham, but that was about all I accomplished with that one. Mini Neck Pro, big fail. That one didn't. M-Anagal, yeah, another fail. So you can see I was not doing very well with software for antennas or for antenna design, so I ended up using the internet to do my searching. And hopefully I would find an antenna or something close to what I was wanting to experiment with. bought a 6-meter beam from MFJ, which also is a Cushcraft dealer. And I bought this thing and assembled it on my back porch, and it's been there for 3 or 4 years for reasons unknowns to me, other than I just did not take the time. It did not get put up. But fortunately, I was lucky to wait or procrastinate because this software came along that I could work with, which we'll be talking about here shortly. The coax path is figured out. I have a Titan DX, Gap Titan DX antenna in the backyard, and I run a buried coax, and I buried it in PVC pipe so I could snake more coax through there if I wanted. And at the antenna, I have I think 5 relay or 6 relay switch box, antenna switch box. So I feed multiple antennas from there. I figured, I can't afford to run 20 or 10 or 15 coaxes out through the backyard. And then from there, I branch out with PVC pipe to various antenna locations. I have not run the PVC pipe or dug for this the 6-meter antenna, but I have everything in place and about ready to put it up. You see here where I downloaded EasyNet 7, which is now free. I think this was originally a $500 or $600 package. And when I saw that it was free, because the guy that wrote it retired and turned it free, I said, wow, I'm getting that one no matter what. Even if I don't know how to use it, I'm going to get it. And then I saw a reference on his website to AutoEasy, which is a software package. And I saw the book, or so bought AutoEasy, and I said, now this is cool because it's actually an Excel spreadsheet. It's not a program, it's a spreadsheet with programs, code in the background it runs. And it's pretty nice package.
Does it give you a pattern?
It does everything EasyNet does, and EasyNet does and more, way more. And then on the AutoEasy site, I saw a reference to a book. The book was about $50, if I remember right. That's the book. This thing is huge, and it's stunning how much information this guy put in here. It was written by a guy named Marcel Descanques, which just recently passed away back in October. And the first 12 or 13 chapters in the book are basically using EasyNet, not using AutoEasy. And this was really handy. So I bought the book too when I saw the reference. I'm glad I did. My first use, you see on the upper on the screen, I used EasyNet and AutoEasy and the book January the 6th. That was the first time I opened the package up. I was up in New York spending Christmas with my son up in New York, and I had something to do. I always try to do something up there to keep from going crazy. And 2 days later, I knew what I had to do for a presentation. This presentation was formalized in 2 days, just by playing with the software and making stuff happen. AutoEasy requires Excel 97 or later. None of the knockoff spreadsheets work. Google Sheets or whatever, Open Office, I have a whole list of them. None of them. It's strictly Excel. But fortunately, you can get a cheap copy of Excel. Even Excel 97 will drive the software, so you don't need a expensive Office package. You just buy something off the internet, and it'll work. He also has this book here, like I said, first 13 chapters. It's totally amazing how much information is in here. Even if you don't buy Auto Easy and you use EasyNet, buy the book. You would be surprised at how much you don't know. You know, it's an awesome book. I sent a email to Marcel about broken links to the website because it says link here, download, da da da. And unfortunately, I got an email back from his, I believe she's daughter-in-law, and she said, Aggie, I guess how you pronounce it, her stepdaughter. And she said that he passed away back in October. So anyway, so there's no more coming from this guy. That's a real shame because he writes with a style that most technical books should adopt. It's very, very detailed, very simple. He explains everything. Now, I mean everything. He doesn't leave anything to the imagination. So even if you don't buy Auto Easy, buy the book. Okay, now I modeled my Cushcraft antenna with without stepped elements, and I thought, man, this looks good. I had a nice SWR curve. Everything was pretty. Then I modeled it with steps, and the SDR went something gazillion, well over 100. So I thought, well, okay, I'm doing something wrong. And anyway, I thought, well, no wonder people complained about the 5-element antenna that said it sucks. Everybody says that. And it's a 5-element with a gamma match for matching to the antenna. And I decided, and then I decided.
Model a gamma match in both these EasyNet and Auto Easy, both of them. Can you model a gamma match?
Yes, you can. But to find out how, you need to buy book 3 of his antenna, practical antenna book.
A different one?
Yeah, it's a different book. It's called Practical Antennas or something like that. And the volume 3 is where it has it. I did buy all 3 of his books on practical antennas.
Same guy, Marcel?
Yeah, same guy. And but those books are strictly Auto Easy books. They don't, help you on EasyNet. But if you got this one, who cares? Anyway, with the help from the book, it was really quick to learn. Applied variable names and then got error messages. I said, okay. I said it a little different, but okay. Anyway, I found out that because of the software has certain rules, which all software does, there are some variables you cannot use, variable letters you cannot use. They're already assigned. And as long as you learn to skip over those, the C, F, and R, and I also don't use H. You skip over those, you're okay. If you need more variables, there's plenty. You can see from AA to CZ and the original 22 that you can use in the alphabet, you'll end up with 100 variables. If you need more than that, you need to go some other software package because, that's just a gazillion. This is out of the assembly manual for my Cushcraft antenna, my 6-meter, we'll call it 6-meter antenna. As you can see, they have a chart and they have an assembly instructions. For some reason, or I don't understand really what's going on, but for a vertical positioned antenna, as compared to a horizontal, they have a separate table with separate values in it. Now, I kind of always thought this, that somebody said, if you want to check your antenna SWR a horizontal antenna, flip it vertical if you're down close to the ground, and you do that. You know, it's what I read somewhere. But this tells me, the two charts tells me that's not going to work. So anyway, there's the chart. Those are the values. And good luck with it. Those of you that use EasyNet, you'll probably recognize some of this. This is the wires table out of AutoEasy. Basically, N1, N2, diameter, number of segments. It's just like our EasyNet. Reason I don't know if I'll say this later in the application or in this presentation, but the reason I could not use EasyNet is because in EasyNet, there is no empty wires table. I mean, that's a very simple concept, but you can't have a spreadsheet in EasyNet that has nothing in it. You have to have an entry, no matter what it is. You have to have one antenna element. Then you can build on that and delete that one if you want to. But for that reason, I could never get EasyNet to work. That's what I learned in the book. It said in there, you cannot have an empty row or an empty table in EasyNet. Now in AutoEasy, you have your wires table. You also have a variables table. If you're used to using a spreadsheet in Excel, you can have multiple tabs along the bottom and have your different spreadsheets in a workbook, I think they call it. Assign your variables, and you use this form right here. I tried to use C and it failed. Of course, I found out later, shortly why it failed. And then I tried to use apostrophe, which says, okay, that means go ahead and accept it as a text character. Me not working with Excel for a while, it didn't dawn on me that that's not how you do it either. So but it won't fail. That's what threw me for a loop. It won't fail, but it won't be a variable either. It'll be equal C in that cell. So anyway, stepped elements. You assign, if you have a stepped elements antenna, the middle section is fixed. So the middle section is fixed. You don't want to assign a variable to that one. You want it to stay fixed. But the elements, end elements, or multiple steps if you have them, there's where you assign variables so they can adjust. Once you add your variables to the wires table, when you add them, if you have your variables defined, excuse me, if you have your variables defined in the variables table, when you go in and cell and put equal A in for that cell, or equal B or whatever your variable is, when you hit the enter key, it will pop up the value that you have in your variables table. So if you're using a value from that table, or using a value that was a fixed value initially, like 400 millimeters or something, and you switch over to a variable, if your variable is 400 millimeters, it'll show the same thing. So that way you can actually confirm that you're putting the right one in there. After you add your variables.
Is this the AutoEasy or?
AutoEasy, or
Oh,
we're speaking AutoEasy. Yeah. Once you add the variables to your wire, put your variables in your wires table, you go back to the, add the variables to the wires table, go back to the variables table, and there's a button that says optimizer setup. Basically, what you're doing when you click on that is there's a little button up here that says optimizer setup, I believe. Can it read? Yeah, optimizer setup. This screen's tiny. And when you click on that button, you'll get a window that pops up. Now you don't have to optimize or calculate with all your variables. You can do just any 1, 2, 3, or whatever you want. So you select your variables, and then once you do that, did I skip a page? Oh, it's next slide. Anyway, once you do that, it'll pop up the optimizer tab, because you won't see the optimizer tab in your spreadsheet until you tell it use a variable. I mean, why do you need optimizer? You know, using variables. Now,
What does that mean, iteration?
iterations is loops. In other words, it'll run a calculation, then it'll step to the next frequency or the next element,
Over a
and
bandwidth?
over a band. In other words, you tell it what frequency you want this to run for, like a center frequency, and it'll start generating all these antenna lengths and SWRs and so on for each frequency, or for that frequency, to optimize the antenna at that frequency.
What kind of step size does it use for the different frequencies?
You can tell the frequencies variable, but right now we're just optimizing for one frequency.
Even at one frequency, it did 700 iterations?
Yes, it did 700 calculations for this thing, and it tells you how many it did. As I homed in on the ideal values, what I did was I changed my variables, and basically I ran the thing again with values closer to being best. And as you do this 2 or 3 times, you can get that loop counting, the iterations or the calculations down. It becomes less and less, because it doesn't have to go so far out to figure out what it needs to satisfy the conditions that you've set for the parameters, like SWR or whatever. Right here is where I did a boo-boo, okay? I put a variable A on one end of the director, or driven element, whatever, anyone, and I put a variable B on the other end, okay? What that did was that allowed the optimizer to move things in and out this way. So I could have a long left side element and a short right side element, and the optimizer would handle this. So, and obviously that was wrong. So what I did was I said, well, okay, I'll average the two, plug those back in as new A and B variables, and run it again. I sent a letter off to the guy that wrote the software. And I don't know if I mentioned this later, but I sent a letter off to the other guy who wrote the software, and he said, did you use A for both ends? Pretty simple question. I thought, what? Then it finally dawned on me. I could use one variable in 2 places on the wires table. In other words, on the left end, I use equal A. On the right end, I use equal A. And then the antenna would go symmetrically in and out as well as doing its calculations. So, yeah, that was my reaction too. Oops. Anyway, to do the optimizer run, on the optimizer page, you'll get the start button to run it. Over here, in this section right here, is where you set up the parameters that you want to obtain. Good SWR, good low impedance, and what values you consider acceptable. like SWR 1.01, that's the target we're shooting for. So you can see resistance, X impedance or reactance, SWR, antenna gain, front to back, or front to back or front to rear. Those are two different things, but front to back is your basically front to back ratio. Front to rear is like efficiency or something. I don't know, but they're actually different numbers. I'm not an antenna specialist or engineer. I'm just a guy with a bunch of toys. So, but anyway, I usually set mine for SWR and let the others float. Let them go whatever they want. Now you run the optimizer, and now you have to run, if you want to see the SWR curves and charts and so on that this thing can provide, and it's pretty comprehensive, then you need to run the calculate. The calculate's what you normally run anyway. When you click the SWR button in EasyNet, that is actually doing a calculate to create the SWR, the radiation pattern graphs, and so on. Not a pretty picture, is it? This was my optimized 5-element antenna, according to the computer. 1.5, it crosses 3. This was set for, I believe, 51, optimized for 51 or 50.125. I believe, is that the calling frequency on 6 meters? Or maybe it's, yeah, it's 50.125 megahertz. And the 3-to-1 is right at 51. So much for a wide bandwidth antenna.
Yeah.
It sucks, obviously. It can definitely be improved. Obviously, I was not impressed with the restrictions and everything that I had, including the length of the boom. That's also a variable if you want. I could not get anything really good. Then I read somewhere some ham took the 5-element antenna, took one of the elements off, and worked out something that made it a better antenna with only 4 elements, which I think Cushcraft could have done originally. I think they just really stuck another element on there to charge more money and tried to get it close enough. So anyway, I deleted the 3rd director, the guy in the front, and started over, see what I could do with a 4-element. Well, that was good. So, okay, yeah, well, let's try again. This time, we kept the boom same distance. It's about a 12 feet. It's a 140-inch boom, if I remember right. And versus 144 is 12 foot. So the element lengths or spacings were assigned as variables, and that includes the spacing between the reflector and driven, and between the driven and the first director. The second director position remained fixed because I did not want the overall length of the boom to vary. You know, I had a fixed boom, so I just, the reflector and director 2 distance was a fixed value. And then I assigned the highest priority SDR and lesser values to the remaining optimizer parameters. And let's see what we get. Not bad, right? So as you can see, the SWR over this bandwidth from 50 to 52 is below 1.2. And right there's the SWR 1.5 SWR line. So now I got a really good antenna. So, okay. Yay. But the game is not over. Life deals you some wins, but often they're short-lived. My gamma match meant that my antenna had to be split in the middle. I'm sorry. My gamma match meant it was not split in the middle. What I was working with was assuming that it was two segment elements, one on each side. So anyway, I read an article about modeling CB. This guy is the antenna guru of all time, hands down. And it painted a pretty bad picture on gamma match. You know, his version of, or his story says, nah, good luck. And pretty much what it amounted to. He also mentioned that the elements shorted to the boom would change things, because that's the way my 5-element antenna is made. It has all elements connected to the boom. And excuse me, but he did not explain how it made a difference. So anyway, I hate a moving target. And that's what this thing is. Of course, I think everybody knows antenna design is 98% art and 2% engineering. You know, it's just, who knows? You know, it's just pot luck on what you do. Even if it looks good on the ground, you put it up, it'd be way different. You know, that's the nature of antennas, but that's what makes it fun. It's never boring, that's for sure. Dan McGuire is the creator of Auto Easy, and I asked him about the different on the ends, and he replied, and I would go, oh, okay. Mystery solved. That also made it a lot easier on me too, because I was working so many variables, you know, one for each end on each element. Now it's just one variable for each end. So it's one variable per element for the length. Some last minute notes. I looked into purchasing the NEC 5 license. When I originally looked into it, I read on the Lawrence Livermore site that the NEC 5 license was for 3 years at $110 for license. I thought, well, no, you know, I don't buy renewable software, you know, at least not unless it makes sense. So I said, okay, I'll just pass on it. And I decided my modeling package was complete. I figured I got real nice package for $80, $50 book, and an $80 software package, and a free $500 software package. I've got a nice modeling system, so I can do my antenna work.
So why'd you buy V1, V2, and V3?
Because this book right here was written so well that I thought his other books will probably be written with the same style. And I was right. He's full of practical antenna books. You know,
They the same book, but different revs?
no, it's volume 1, volume 2, and volume 3. It's 3 different books.
You have to get all 3.
Yeah, if you want the full set. So I did buy them, and they were written in the same style. Like I said, though, all 3 books are written basically for auto easy and not so much for easy neck. The volumes are also 8.5 by 11, just the same as this one, but they're only about so thick. They're about 200, 250 pages or so. And I thought, the guy has passed away. He's not writing any more books. I'm going to buy what I can. He has other books too, but I decided I don't need those. Right here cost me $110. The next 5 one-time loan, the 3-year is just simply a renewal for address keeping purposes from Lawrence, Livermore. Once you buy the NEC 5, and you also get the NEC 5-13B or whatever, because you get actually 2 down, 2 downloads. So once you get it, then you have a, a very capable software development package. The NEC 5 engine overcomes some of the error problems that you run into with using the NEC 2 engine. And also it overcomes one problem you run into using the Auto Easy software with the NEC 2 engine. Right here, I would get, when I was using, when I was using the Gamma batch, which I got from the Practical Antenna book, volume 3, because he goes with the Delta, the Gamma, the T match, just every match there is. He shows how to do each one in the book. So you don't have to figure this stuff out. I mean, it's that good. And it actually works. The, excuse me, my allergies are acting up. Anyway, I did buy the NEC 5 package, and I asked about the elements, and Dan said that the elements shorted to the boom are not relative below the VHF, which at 6 meters is kind of maybe, maybe not. But I figured, okay, who cares? You know, I'll go with shorted elements and just not worry about it. I imagine you would have to actually create wires between the elements along the boom length and let it figure stuff out with that too, which the NEC 5 engine can handle, no sweat. There's a NEC 5 and a NEC 5 13B. The 13B, I believe, solves some errors that the NEC 5 engine had. If you go and read into this, dig into it, they'll explain what the errors were and what's the solution. But Lawrence Livermore gives you both of them. So if you want to deal with the errors and have fun, that's okay. You can do that too. Okay. There was, where we at? Farther, farther along than I thought on the time. I was going to say a 5-minute break, and I was going to do an Auto Easy demo and actually take an antenna we picked up in a yard sale called a CB radio antenna, 2-element, and I was going to chop some off the elements because 2 meters is below the 10-meter band, turn it into a 10-meter 2-element antenna and optimize it. And
what software?
huh?
Using NEC 5?
No, at the time I was on NEC 2. You know, I just recently got the NEC 5 license. And anyway, like I said, if the demo was going to go south, it'd be my fault because I've just started this stuff, just started playing with it. Anyway, fortunately, we don't get to do this because they do not have HDMI capability on this. It's not working. So I can't use my computer to do the demo. It was just where I was going to run it. Later today, we have free time. If you want to watch it run, we can do it. I can do it here on my computer. Just, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So you haven't used your NEC 5 yet, huh?
Yeah, I plugged in the NEC 5, told EasyNEC to use NEC 5, and ran one of my examples, and it didn't make any difference. So I said, okay, it's working. Now, I didn't.
Confusing to me. How can you get auto easy to run NEC 5? Do they have a way to do that? Okay,
here's how it really works. You have to have Auto Easy up and running to use, EasyNet up and running to use Auto Easy, because the spreadsheet makes calls into the EasyNet software and uses that engine to do its calculations.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, now EasyNet won't do a whole lot of what Auto Easy can do. It does a gazillion more. A much better display package, easy to work with. If you work with spreadsheets ever with graphs and stuff, you will love it. Excuse me. Right here, another reason for using Auto Easy. When I ran AutoNet, hit the SWR button, it generated an error, and I thought, what? Because there was no explanation. The internet did not explain what the error was. When I ran it with the antenna, show antenna button, show do the calculate button in Auto Easy, it explained the error. Same error, but it made sense. I said, oh, okay, that's what I did wrong. So that right there, in one fell swoop, it paid for the software because it solved a problem I would not have been able to solve. And now the real fun begins right after the break. Obviously, there's no after the break because there's no demo to run. Thank you very much.